Hello, dear friends. I'm with you. Last time, we got acquainted with an interesting mod for residents guards of the village. Who does not remember or did not look? Here is a link to that review for you. Today we will take a look at another mod on the same topic. It is called, which can be translated as a barbarian and ruin, and it affects the mechanics of raids, plus it adds some interesting gadgets to us. The mod is designed for versions of the lane 1.15.2 and 1.16.1, but let's get down to business and take a closer look at it. First of all, the trigger for starting a raid will no longer be the murder of a robber leader. To provoke a raid, you will have to desecrate the robber flag. The only way you can desecrate it is to burn it. You can use a lighter or a fire charge. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that the flag flared up and burned out like that. In this way, you will receive a voluntary exile and the effect of a bad omen. A bad omen can be removed with the help of milk, or it will pass by itself in the usual way. The more flags you burn, the more the effect of the bad omen multiplies. The robbers themselves have also undergone changes. They have become smarter, and now they start loading their crossbows as soon as you come into their field of vision. During the shooting, they retreat if the target is coming at them, and excluding simple hillbillies because the robbers know that they do not pose a threat. After death, they can drop up to 2 arrows. Occasionally, they will spawn with a crossbow that is loaded with fireworks, but they will not recharge with fireworks. The textures of evil inhabitants, such as, for example, the champion and the fuse, have been somewhat redesigned. The outlaw outpost has also changed its appearance and has become more like an outpost, and it now has new elements for loot. The outpost is evicted by new beautiful blocks called gloomy tiles. Gloomy tiles have derivative steps, semi-blocks, runic gloomy tiles and carved gloomy tiles. And if a quark is installed, then there is also a vertical half-block of gloomy tiles. The gloomy tile has a craft, and it is based on the phantom membrane. The membrane needs to be surrounded with stone bricks, any simple carved chamois. In general, it doesn't matter. If you wander through structures whose floor is lined with similar slabs, try not to step on runic ones or step, but with caution, squat. Otherwise, you may not be very well. And more specifically, traps break out of these blocks that can kill you. After triggering, the trap disappears and the block becomes ordinary, non-canonical. Unfortunately, the runic tile has no crafting, and it cannot be removed even with a tool enchanted with silk. Well, that is, you can cut it down, but you will get the usual gloomy tile without runes. Creepers have new functionality and items related to it. First of all, creepers do not destroy the landscape, and all the power of the explosion goes exclusively to the destruction of enemies. In addition, when a creeper explodes, a medium-sized cloud of green particles, creeper spores, forms at the explosion site. The size of the cloud depends on how much health the creeper had left at the time of detonation. From these spores, a lot of small kittens are formed, which are quite nimble and quite able to finish you off if their parent failed. So, perhaps it makes sense to carry a shield with you to hide behind it from explosions, since this new property is very controversial, and someone may well not like it. The developers left the option to disable the whole thing in configurations, which personally seems to me quite a reasonable solution. If a creeper dies as a result of a third-party explosion, that is, it does not explode itself, oats will burst, for example. Another creeper or dynamite, then in addition to gunpowder, creeper spores in the amount of 1 to 5 pieces also fall out of it. If you right-click, holding a dispute in your hand, then again a creep cloud will spread and several fasteners will appear in it. Such hand-spawned kittens will consider you their mother and will run after you to all broods. They will protect you from the attacks of hostile mobs and players at the cost of their own lives, and will also destroy everyone you attack. Unlike large creepers, small creepers can detonate on the run, meaning they don't need to stop for an explosion. but I don't advise you to get too attached to them. And not only because they lose their lives too easily, they have, by the way, 5 health units. Even if you save your green kids, they will still grow into full-fledged creepers over time and will no longer be so loyal to you, but will try to blow you up like any normal creeper who is in his right mind and sober mind. If you need just the same adult creepers, then the growth rate can be accelerated with the help of bone meal. By the way, I haven't checked, but the developers write that small crepes are compatible with the quark feature of using poisonous potatoes. In theory, this thing should stop growth. Who of you is playing with a quark? Here is an interesting opportunity for you to experience the unknown. And after that, please share your impressions in the comments under this video. Creeper spores have another use. Of these, you can create a spore TNT, the explosion of which is powerful enough, but at the same time, it will not destroy the landscape, but will again create a cloud of creeper spores, from which a flock of wild, aggressively minded mounts will arise in the amount of 4 to 6 pieces. In addition to the spore TNT, you can also create special explosion-resistant plates for spores. To craft, you will need 3 spores and 2 gold bars. From these plates, you can create explosion-resistant blocks that are comparable in strength to cobblestone and in explosion resistance to obsidian. They look quite nice, and there are steps and half-blocks to them. It is also possible to make armor from explosion-resistant plates, which are called griefer armor. Craft, like all ordinary vanilla armor, only made of explosion-proof plates. 24 pieces are needed for a full set. The helmet gives 2 armor units, the breastplate 6, greaves 5, boots 3. Each armor element has +1 armor strength and a reduction in explosion damage by somewhere between 20 and 30%, depending on the part of the armor. And if you have nothing else to do with creeper disputes at all, then you can take a pot and plant a dispute in it. It will turn out to be such a creeper plant, which may be suitable for you to decorate the interior. The mod also adds a couple of new interesting mobs. In particular, a mob called Griefer, and this charmer throws crypospores at opponents, wreaking havoc and destruction. Only when his supply of strong spores expires, then this guy goes to melee. In ranged combat mode, if the marriage is at a distance of 3 blocks, the Griefer makes a powerful kick and kicks it far away, trying to stay away from the enemy at least 15 blocks away. It spawns during raids, sometimes in outposts or estates. During raids, he may well turn out to be a standard bearer. Initially, he appears with 10 crypospores, which are not actual items, but simply indicate how many times the Griefer can throw spores. In hand-to-hand combat mode, the Griefer is not as strong, but he is quite nimble and throws enemies far away. If the Griefer was damaged during hand-to-hand combat, then for each lost hit point, he restores 1 support, thus getting the opportunity to switch back to ranged combat. In addition to the Griefer, a new type of skeleton was added to the mod, the skeleton of a resident. He is generally unremarkable, except that he wields a crossbow, so we can assume that once during his lifetime, he was a robber. Like ordinary undead, it burns in the sun. You will not be able to cure him and make him alive again, like a zombie maker. In general, the mod developers have quite a lot of interesting ideas that have not yet been implemented, but which they are working on and are going to add. Among them is a fake or illusionist, a kind of evil resident, who will deceive players by masquerading as ordinary residents. There are also plans to make some changes to the forest mansion and add something to the outpost, but it's still under development, so it's too early to talk about the result yet. Well, we will closely monitor the development of Fashion and wish the developers success in all their endeavors, because their ideas are really interesting. That's probably all I wanted to tell you about the Fashion for Robbers. I hope you enjoyed my review. If so, don't forget to put your finger up. See you soon. Bye-bye.